Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining this webinar on social accountability in fashion, provided to you by Friend of the Earth. Just a few technical information. Please write and send your questions on the chat. Also, because of the high number of participants, only speakers will be authorized to use the audio. So my name is Paolo Bray. I'm the founder and director of Friend of the Sea and Friend of the Earth and the World Sustainability Organization and Foundation. Before starting, I would like to remind you about next webinar on the 26th of April 2025 at 4 p.m. about Friend of the Sea sustainability certifications and conservation projects. An update. Today, here with me is also Zoe Klose, director and designer, stylist of Zoe Klose Fashion. Hello, Zoe.
Hello.
Is my introduction correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, wonderful. So let's move on. And Zoe, thank you so much for being here. It's a pleasure to have you. Okay, so for those of you who do not yet know us, let me share a few slides to tell you a bit more about where we come from and what we do. Our story dates back in the early 90s with my involvement in the Dolphin Safe Tuna program. I soon realized that certifications could be a very important tool to achieve tangible conservation results. So in 2008, we launched the Friend of the Sea, initially focused on certification of seafood from sustainable fisheries and aquaculture. We then expanded its scope to certify sustainable nutraceutical products, such as omega-3 and collagen, and many other products and services. 10 years after Friend of the Sea, we launched Friend of the Earth, initially certifying products from sustainable agriculture and farming, and now into fashion, textiles, sports, and many others. In 2022, we created the foundation, and in 2023, we opened our first concept store, Sustainable Friends, in the center of Milan. Currently, over 5,000 products from more than 1,500 companies in 90 countries carry the Friend of the Sea and Friend of the Earth certification logos. Friend of the Sea and Friend of the Earth represent also conservation projects managed by our foundation in over 40 countries. These are Friend of the Sea and Friend of the Earth conservation programs on a global map. The Friend of the Earth certification in particular was initially focused in certifying products on sustainable agriculture and farming. Over the years, the scope of the Friend of the Earth certification has been expanded to award with the Friend of the Earth logo other products and services which respect the environment. It was then natural to develop standards also for textiles, fibers, and fashion products to be audited and certified under the Friend of the Earth program. I will tell you a bit more about this towards the end of my presentation. But let's dive now into today's webinar about social accountability in fashion. Sustainability isn't just about eco materials, it's about people. Social accountability ensures dignity and fairness at every stage. Social accountability anchors the social pillar, as you see on this graph, of sustainability, focusing on human rights, equity, and fair labor practices. It ensures stakeholders, workers, communities, consumers are treated ethically across the supply chain. The textile and fashion supply chain is a complex one, as you can see represented in this graph. Raw material suppliers producing natural or synthetic fibers supply textile companies whose yarns generate the actual fabric. In turn, the textile companies supply the manufacturers, which often use subcontractors and contract manufacturers. The garments are then traded also via trading companies to retailers, which could be physical ones like a department store or online. The product then reaches consumers. All fibers production or harvesting have a chance of being carried out without respecting workers' rights. For example, in Uzbekistan, child labor has been a significant issue in cotton production. Workers in cotton fields often face exposure to pesticides. In some regions, workers in wool production face poor working conditions and inadequate wages. In India, particularly in Karnataka, an estimated 60,000 to 100,000 children work in silk production. In countries like Bangladesh, workers in leather tanneries are exposed to toxic chemicals and face health risks. Issues such as low wages, long working hours, and lack of job security are prevalent in the leather industry. Workers in the alpaca fiber industry often face long working hours, with some reports indicating 12 hours workdays and 7-day work weeks. Additionally, many workers are not provided with official contracts. Workers in synthetic fibers, particularly in the developing countries, often face poor working conditions, low wages, and lack of labor rights protection. Among natural fibers, cotton, silk, and leather production face significant social accountability challenges, particularly concerning labor rights and working conditions. Synthetic fibers, while posing environmental concerns, generally have a lower profile regarding direct labor issues. However, the lack of transparency and regulations in both sectors necessitates ongoing vigilance and reform to ensure ethical practices across the entire textile industry. Linen, flax is production, particularly in Europe, tends to have fewer and less severe social accountability issues, attributed to strong labor regulations and localized production. However, it must be clarified that there are also several examples of each of these fibers production which produce respecting workers and even supporting local communities. An example for the synthetic sector will be brought to us by Zoe Klose, while for natural fibers, a producer of cotton from Brazil, Natural Cotton Color, which has been certified Friend of the Earth, has implemented several measures in this sense. It pays the highest price per kilo of cotton in Brazil, and it guarantees purchase contracts to the local farmers. A great example of the problem we are facing is the Armani supply chain fiasco. Armani claimed it had no knowledge of workers' conditions as subcontractors. They were likely paid 2 to 3 euros per hour, while Armani was making a markup of 1,838% between the original cost, 93 euros, for example, and the retail cost. It is clear that the change is needed. The apparel supply chain has increased enormously in length and complexity, driving apparel retailers to employ sourcing intermediaries who manage their sourcing activities with suppliers from developing countries overseas. Apparel retailers and brands relying on these long supply chains need to raise awareness of intermediaries in supply chains, requesting them reporting, corporate responsibility documents, compliance with code of conduct standards, certifications of the apparel factories and raw materials fibers suppliers. Legislation can be an important and definitive solution to dramatically reduce the potential negative social impact of fashion. The EU Digital Product Passport, for example, for textiles, is a key component of the European Union Eco-Design for Sustainable Products regulations, which aims to enhance sustainability and transparency in the fashion industry. The DPP serves as a comprehensive digital record for textile products, providing detailed information about their life cycle from production to end of life. The DPP does have implications for social accountability, even though its primary focus is environmental sustainability. The DPP's framework is designed to promote transparency across the entire life cycle of a product, including the social and labor conditions involved in its production. The DPP is one of several already implemented laws to promote social accountability in the EU production. Among them, the Corporate Sustainability Due Diligence Directive, the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive. In the US, the New York Fashion Act, formerly known as the Fashion Sustainability and Social Accountability Act, is a landmark piece of legislation introduced in the New York State to enforce comprehensive environmental and social responsibility within the fashion industry. It aims to hold large apparel and footwear companies accountable for their global supply chains, promoting transparency and ethical practices. Companies with annual global revenues exceeding 100 million must map at least 50% of their supply chains, from raw materials to finished products, and account for potential adverse environmental and social impacts. Non-compliant companies may face fines up to 2% of their annual revenue. The Act encourages adherence to existing frameworks like the UN Guiding Principles on Business and human rights and the OECD due diligence guidance. The bill will need to be, however, reintroduced in the next legislative session, and its fate remains uncertain. In contrast, the New York Fashion Workers Act, a separate piece of legislation focused on labor protection for models and creatives, was signed into law by Governor Kathy Hochul on December 21, 2024. It is set to take effect in June 2025 and introduces new regulations aimed at preventing exploitation of models and ensuring fair treatment in the fashion industry. While individual EU countries have implemented specific laws to protect fashion models, the European Union provides overarching frameworks that support workers' rights and image protection. However, there is no single EU-wide regulation solely dedicated to fashion models, leading to variations in protections across member states. In France, the BMI and health certification law mandates that models provide a medical certificate confirming their health and appropriate body mass index before employment. Agencies employing models with a BMI below a certain threshold can face penalties, including fines and imprisonment. As far as BMI thresholds are concerned, the situation is the following. In France, while no exact BMI number is legally fixed, doctors must use WHO guidelines. A BMI of 18.5 or above is considered healthy. In Israel, a minimum BMI of 18.5 is required by law. Fashion shows like Madrid and Milan have imposed a limit of 18 and 18.5. The New York Fashion Week has imposed in 2007, but then non-confirmed. For context, a model who is 1.73 meters, 5 feet 8 inches tall, would need to weigh at least 55.4 kilograms, 122 pounds, to meet the BMI threshold. Talking about modeling and social accountability, inclusivity is also a new movement. Authentic representations drives market growth and social equity. Good examples are Tomboy X, Loud Bodies, and Gillian Mercado. Consumer awareness is growing and it is willing to pay more for brands with ethical labor practices, as you can see on the graph, even though not often, if then actually it then actually behave consequently. There is a gap between the willingness to pay and the actual behavior. So the major takeaways from my short analysis of social accountability in the fashion supply chain are that social accountability issues can potentially occur in the production of all fibers, even though some might imply a higher risk than others. Very few companies are currently engaged at improving their social accountability. According to Fashion Transparency Index 2023, in fact, among 250 major global fashion brands, only 1% disclose the percentage of garment workers in their supply chains who earn a living wage. Laws are gradually introduced, but at a very slow pace as we've seen, with actual implementation some years from now in the US and the EU. Consumers, in the meanwhile, we've seen that show an increasing awareness and preference for ethical brands. In this context, reliable third-party certifications can play an important role. This is why our World Sustainability Organization has developed the Friend of the Earth standard for sustainable textiles and fashion. These standards, among requirements related to the environmental impact, include also social accountability requirements, as you can see here, point 10, to endure fair labor practices, respect of human rights, adequate wages, and safety measures. So why should fashion companies, in case products and textiles already have obtained our certifications, including social accountability certifications such as SA 8000 and CEDEX, we recognize full equivalence with our standards requirements. So we avoid double auditing in this case. So why should fashion companies rely on Friend of the Earth? Because it is a real third-party certification which can provide evidence in line with new laws to prevent greenwashing. It is only the only also the only certification of this kind open at the same time to upcycled and recycled garments and textiles, as well as regenerated and those from sustainable agriculture. It recognizes other certifications, support conservation via our foundation, and it provides a promotional package. which includes a fashion show during the Milan Fashion Weeks Day, participation at the International Trade Show, showcase in our concept store in the center of Milan, and this year also participation to the Friend of the Earth Brazil Eco Fashion Week. So with this, I thank you, and I will now gladly pass the microphone to Zoe Klose of the Zoe Klose Fashion, a Friend of the Earth certified company. Zoe, I have your presentation, so just tell me next slide when you want to go on the next slide.
Okay,
Thank
perfect.
you.
Thank you and warm welcoming. I'm Zoe Klose. I'm the designer of Zoe Klose Fashion, and I produce sport and casual wear for women, men, and unisex. Next slide, please. And I've started 5 years ago, and from the beginning on, I decided to work only with one material, which is the Econyl nylon, which comes entirely from waste, like as you can see, fishing nets or old carpets or waste, industrial waste or fabric remnants. And for me, it's very important to protect the environment, minimizing our environment impact and forcing a path of sustainability. For an industry historically responsible for water pollution, greenhouse gas emission, and waste. This is why I decided to use only one nylon for my entire collections. And then please the next slide. And here you can see some of my current pieces, and the whole collection, as well the accessories, are made of this nylon. Okay, next slide. And for me, it's very important that I have fair working conditions. This is why I received a few months ago also the label Swiss Made, because I design and produce completely my collections in Switzerland, and also the zippers are from Swiss companies, as well as the dress etiquettes. And for me, it's also important to support the local companies here in Switzerland. And also, I have the certification of course, Friend of the Earth, because I use only one recycled nylon, like the Econyl. And also, this nylon is 90% less CO2 emissions. In the production, they have less water and energy consumptions, as well as than normal traditional nylon. Okay, next slide, please. And let's come to the point of the textile production. I stand for Swiss standards. This is I want fair working conditions, like fair wages, safe working conditions, working hour standards in Switzerland, and prohibition of child. And this is also why I decided to have one nylon, which is completely made of waste, and I produce new clothes. And the value chain in Switzerland is that I design the collection, then these pieces or drawings are going to the fashion cuts for making the prototypes. These prototypes are produced in a Swiss tailor, in a fabric, here also in Switzerland. We have short transports because everything is in Switzerland, and I'm really fast in the fabrics or wherever I have to be, and then it gets to the sales. Next slide, please. And to come to the impact of fast fashion as I see it, ecologically, it burdens the environment through water consumptions, waste and chemicals, socially through poor working conditions and low wages, as also Paolo said, and economically through the promotion of throwaway culture, like a lot of waste, and short-term trends. Next slide, please. And the impact of social accountabilities or the corporate social responsibility, as I think, has a really strong and positive impact on a brand's reputation. As well, it builds trust and goodwill, and it strengthens the brand trust and increase also the credibility. Next slide. I thank you very much for listening and to have this presentation today.
Thank you so much, Zoe. It's really great to have you here with us and to hear also all the positive things that your brand is doing, both in terms of respecting the environment and social accountability. We would really love to see these changes and this level of engagement in all companies and not see those situations which came to the surface with Armani and with other brands. So we really hope that everybody will improve and go in this positive direction. So with this, we finish our presentation, and I will go through the polls. I will launch the polls as I usually do. The first poll to which you can answer is the following. The question is the following: which fiber you believe has a higher negative social impact in terms of its production, etc.? Cotton, silk, synthetic fibers, wool, alpaca, leather, linen. Okay, and then the second poll is: would you prefer a certification, or would you think it's be more effective a certification specifically for social accountability compliance, or a more generic one which would verify also the environmental impact and social accountability? So what do you want to see on the finished product, on the garment that you go and buy, on the clothes that are sold? A certification only for social accountability and maybe another one separated only for environmental, or one in general because you expect sustainability to be both environmental and social, for example? Okay. Yes.
Yeah, interesting. This is I find this in the questions just for me to know. Or where is?
I think you should be able to see the polls.
Yeah.
If they're on the left, when I show them, I think let me show to everybody. I don't know if you are able to see them, Zoe, because you are one of the organizers. Let me see. I will share the results with everybody. So maybe now you can see it. You should see on the left a poll button on the left, polls, and maybe in Germany it's different. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's English, yeah, as well.
Okay, and so the third question is about the rating. It's the usual rating of the webinar. So we would love, to hear from you. And of course, you can always email us, with criticism or with suggestions on next webinars, etc., etc. So while we let these polls move on, I will go through some of the questions that we received. So there's a question for you, Zoe. What is your experience in participating with the Friend of the Earth program for fashion in terms of the certification and the promotion activities? Be sincere, of course.
As the experience in general, I guess.
Yes, for the certification and also for the promotion activities like the fashion show that I know you participated at least once or twice or three times. And how do you see the program? Do you think that it's a good investment, let's say, or
Yeah, okay, I understand.
there's space for improvement, of course?
Yeah. I started really at the beginning with the fashion shows with you together, and I see really the impact over the years and how these certifications are more and more important in the fashion industry, especially. And so I saw it now like 3 years in a row, and it's getting more and more important. I see that.
Okay, that's good. Thank you very much, Zoe. And then a question for me: when auditing companies, what is the main findings, in particular regarding their social accountability? Well, let's say that a good part of our companies are already in the state of mind of being environmentally and socially responsible. So it's a very peculiar and active sample to test from. So normally they are very much concerned for social accountability, respect of workers, the respect of local communities, and even local traditions, etc. for some of them. However, there are also some companies which are sourcing from far away, like raw material from far away, natural fibers, for example. And in this case, sometimes it's not easy to, let's say, acquire the sufficient information to be able to confirm their compliance with the social accountability. In the end, of course, those who obtain the certification are able to provide this information. But this could be, let's say, a complication, not necessarily because there are issues on social accountability, but because sometimes, because of the size of the company, they cannot really influence so much the suppliers, and might be difficult to find the relevant information. Then there's another question: how many companies, I suppose that's for me, have joined the Friend of the Earth fashion project? So currently we're counting about 50 companies, 40 to 50 companies. And we are expecting, with the new partnership we are having with the Friend of the Earth Brazil Eco Fashion Week, which is basically one of the major eco fashion weeks worldwide, to be able by the end of the year to reach about 100 companies, if not more, in the project. So we believe that 2025 will be really a great improvement compared to previous years. And then what is the cost of joining the fashion program? Well, we will share with all of you like a presentation about a more detailed presentation about the program. There's a public price list which we will provide, and basically it starts for smaller companies at roughly 1,000 euros for the certification only, with some of the basic promotional initiatives. And then it goes up to, for startup companies, smaller companies, to 3,000 euros for those companies which are already in the projects in several years, to take advantage also of the fashion show, up to 5,000 euros for the new ones, because that includes the fashion shows, which of course it's a big investment also for us. For bigger companies, bigger size company, the price increases because they are considered as bigger companies. So that's how the price list work, also in line with the FAO requirements for this type of sustainability certifications. So I see no other question, and let me just go through the polls and see what was the outcome for those who voted. So there's a feeling that synthetic fibers still have a higher impact in terms of negative impact in terms of social accountability. And the other two are cotton and leather. And it looks like on average people would prefer more generic certification, including all verification of all environmental and social impact, and not just one specific for social accountability. And I think that makes sense, and that's also our approach. So this said, if nobody has anything else to add, I don't see any additional question. I ask also Zoe if you have any additional questions and or considerations. I thank also Sarah Sarah is part of our team for her support in case of any inconvenience, and her present as a collaborator. Thank you so much, Sarah, and also for the great work you do in giving echo to our projects, and at the store, and at the concept store in Milan, and online. So, any final consideration? This social accountability is an important issue, right?
Absolutely. And I really think it gets more and more important over the years. I see that. Yeah.
And it's surprising, right, when you find out, or when the public and consumers find out that some companies don't do enough. It's really bad for the image. And
and it gets more and more on the surface, this topic.
And I think, all in all, really there is no excuse for anybody, because bigger companies have a lot of money to verify what's going on in all their suppliers. They must keep track of that and monitor and manage it.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, let's hope for the best. Maybe I have a last question here. Somebody sent a question. If we don't have, okay, that's an interesting question. If we don't have a track for the fabrics, how can we apply for the certificate? Well, unless the fabric has a certificate already that is fully or partially equivalent with our requirements, then it's very difficult to, if not impossible, to obtain the Friend of the Earth certification, or I think any other certification, because that's really the point. We want to reassure consumers that the garment, the finished product, or even the fabric originates from raw material production that is respecting the environment and workers. So you need to have track of the fabric. Otherwise, I don't see any way that the finished product can be certified. But if you have doubts or if you want to provide more information, feel free to write to us. And yes, you're writing me, can we get the fabric tested? Yes, but let's say not tested in the technical sense. But definitely, you will need to ask your suppliers where it comes from and who is producing it. Definitely, but feel free to contact us, and we can further explore so that we better understand each other on this term. And thank you so much for your question. Okay, with that, I thank you all for participating. And those of you who participated until the end, you will receive a certificate of participation, and the whole video and the PowerPoint will be available on the website, and others will hopefully take advantage by looking and watching this video recorded webinar on our YouTube page. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Zoe,
Thank you.
and let's stay in touch on everything. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Help our planet with this first step. Follow Friend of the Sea and Friend of the Earth across our social media. Like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your follow and subscription helps us spread the sustainability message to everyone. Let's build a better world together as sustainable friends.